3 years and it still isn't finished. Not the relationship that ended. The explanation. Closure sounds clean. A conversation, an explanation, a final understanding. Something that ties things together and lets you move on. That's the idea. But closure rarely arrives that way. Not because people are cruel, but because closure requires symmetry. And most situations end asymmetrically. Closure assumes shared timing. That both sides are ready to reflect, explain, and resolve at the same moment. That rarely happens. When something ends, one person usually processes first. They ask questions, they look for meaning, they want clarity. The other person has already moved on or shut down. The timing is off. Closure also assumes willingness. Willingness to look back honestly, to acknowledge impact, to tolerate discomfort. Many people don't want that. Not out of malice, but avoidance. Explaining yourself requires responsibility. Listening requires exposure. Silence is easier. So instead of closure, you get fragments. Partial answers, vague explanations, reassurances that don't clarify anything. You're told, "It just didn't work, I don't know what happened, it wasn't intentional." These statements close nothing. They end conversation without ending confusion. Closure is often withheld unintentionally. People distance themselves to protect their own regulation. They don't want to revisit the discomfort. They don't want to reopen the dynamic. So they minimize. Closure also threatens narrative control. If you speak honestly, the other person might disagree. They might reinterpret events. They might hold you accountable. Avoiding closure keeps the story vague. You're left with unanswered questions. What did I miss? Was any of it real? Did I matter? These questions persist because nothing replaced them. You might wait for closure. For months, sometimes years. Believing that once you understand, you'll be free. But closure isn't information. It's regulation. It's the nervous system settling after uncertainty resolves. And uncertainty doesn't resolve just because time passes. When closure doesn't come, your mind keeps working. Replaying moments, rewriting conversations, testing different explanations. This isn't obsession. It's unfinished processing. So you go looking for the answer yourself. You reread old messages, you study the last conversation, you search for the sentence where it turned. The archive never answers. It only shows you how little was said out loud. Sometimes you write the conversation in your head. You give them better lines, you give yourself better questions, you run it until it ends cleanly. It never happened, but your body responds as if it did. That is how unfinished things stay alive. They borrow your voice to keep talking. You don't want to go back. You want to understand. But understanding requires cooperation. And that's often unavailable. This is where people get stuck. They believe closure must come from the other person. That an explanation will fix the feeling. But most explanations don't soothe. They just add detail. Closure also assumes honesty, that people know why they acted the way they did. Often they don't, or they know but can't articulate it, or they know but won't say it. So the answer you're waiting for may not exist in a form that resolves anything. Even the apology you're waiting for would not do what you think. An apology names the wound, it doesn't close it. You would hear the words and notice the feeling stays. Because the feeling was never about the words. Closure is rare because it requires alignment that the ending itself disrupted. You don't lack closure because you didn't ask the right question. You lack it because the system that produced the confusion never stabilized enough to resolve it. Waiting for closure keeps you oriented backward. Not because you want the past, but because the past never finished. The most difficult realization is that closure is often internal. Not comforting, not neat, but necessary. It doesn't come as a moment. It comes as acceptance that some endings don't explain themselves. Closure rarely comes because ambiguity is the default ending in unstable systems. And once you see that, you stop waiting for a final answer from a place that never offered one.